The good old days of retail are actually not behind us. They're ahead of us, but they don't look like what's behind us. There are some new tools, new technologies. AI is just one that allows us to transform the customer experience. Yet, surveys over the years have shown on a global level that the customer experience, according to the customer, has been declining. Is it still doing that today, or have we turned the corner? What if there was a way to see what shoppers really want? What if there was a way to know what retail associates want? Because let's face it, it's been increasingly difficult to hire and retain the best retail associates. What do they want? What if there was a way to know what retail leaders are looking at and planning? Well, actually, there is a way to do that. Our expert today is Drew Ellers, who's going to share insights from a global study that reveals what shoppers want in their retail experiences. Drew Ellers is the global futurist and head of global partners at Zebra Technologies, where he leads innovation and strategic collaborations worldwide. With a career spanning 25 years, Drew has dedicated himself to advancing technologies to shape the future of industries. He holds 10 patents across 8 countries, underscoring his expertise in creating transformative solutions that drive new possibilities. Today, we're going to discuss retail imperatives from their latest global shopper study, based on surveying over 3,000 shoppers, 600 retail sales associates, and 450 retail decision makers to uncover strategies that elevate experiences, boost profits, and empower associates to thrive in today's dynamic retail environment. So let's get to it. Welcome, Drew.
Thanks, Daniel. Pleasure to be
Well,
here.
I've had a chance to work with you in the past. I've always been really impressed. You're amazing, first of all. And secondly, the studies are fantastic. And this study, I've had a chance to go through it. It is amazing because it covers more than just shoppers. I mean, it's, what are the retail thought leaders? And by the way, it's global. We can't just look at what's going on in the US. We need bigger insights. So let's get into it. What are some key findings that you've uncovered?
Yeah, Daniel, it's interesting, right? I mean, we've been working together for a few years now. And, with this being our 17th annual global shopper study, spanning, as you said, in a global fashion across 14 different countries in our 4 main regions, which is, EMEA, APAC, LATAM, and NALA. From that perspective, we're really looking at, how we can really dive into the retail experience, but also what are shoppers thinking? What are the store associates thinking? What are those retail decision makers looking at to infuse their environments with over the next few years? And a couple of findings are quite interesting. One is dissatisfaction has really kind of risen a little bit incrementally since our last study, going up to 81% from 79%. And a lot of that really kind of stems from a few things around the customer experience has augmented, from the times that we've gone through with the pandemic in 2020 and 2021. And a lot of the investment was really around buy online, pick up in store, buy online, curbside, because of what we had to do to augment that within those different environments. Now, if you fast forward to this year's survey, what we're finding is that folks are returning to store, but their expectations are really around that online experience. So as they kind of go into the brick and mortar stores, what they're finding is that they're a little dissatisfied because, one, perhaps they can't find a store associate that can help them in a meaningful way. Two is, as many of you have known that are visiting brick and mortars today, especially around grocery or some of the fast fashion, self-checkout has really exploded across the globe in all different manners, in all different environments. However, they're kind of lacking that experience. So what we need to really do as a technology group with our partners and our solutions is really look at, one, what does labor look like? How can we augment that with technology so that we can really engage the store associates in enhancing the customer experience? Number two, giving the customers more options for self-checkout and self-service when it comes to the different environments, and making sure that those technologies are serving the purpose to deliver better customer experience so that it's seamless in nature and not a lot of friction. And number two, along with that, as you infuse self-checkout and self-service into these different modalities, which is going to grow to over $12 billion by 2029, is really looking at how is that enhancing the retailer's bottom line. So today, it's bringing shrink up, which is stolen goods, whether it's in-house or out-of-house from a customer perspective or a store associate, and how we can bring those values back down so that these retailers can operate more profitably. The challenge is right now is that the technology it's being infused, it's moving at a speed that the associates can't keep up with. So we really need to figure out, one, how do we get them dialed back into having the ability to execute their work, but also engage with the customers as they come into the store. And a lot of the store associates say that technology can really provide that path for them. Whether it's mobile computing, whether it's task management married with that mobile computer, so they know exactly what's going to happen during their shift. And also that there's a lot of things flying at them, right? Whether they have to restock shelves, whether they have to face forward those different goods, or they have to engage with a customer. They want to help in all those different paths, but they need to have that knowledge assistant, that mobile computer, and that task management to, one, tell them what they're going to do. Two is return to being able to empower themselves to help customers as they get approached in the store or they're approaching a customer proactively, and really help that. So from a labor perspective, infuse it with technology and task management so that you can really enhance that worker frontline experience. Number two, from a labor perspective, offset the inability for retailers to staff at levels they had before by bringing in self-checkout and self-service modalities such as self-checkout units and bioptics to bring that, and then also keeping an eye on loss prevention and moving into more loss policies around what they can do to reduce that shrink overall.
And to be able to have technology to help us so that, for example, the drug companies or the retailers and so on, they don't have to have everything all locked up. Because again, now I got to get a hold of an associate. The associate's got to bring a key. They're not all happy about that. The customer's not all happy about that. Technology can help a lot in that experience right now, which is not been good. And it's not just the drugstores, but it's other areas as well. Talk a little bit about what you found in the survey around that.
Yeah, really interesting point, Daniel. And it's funny because I just got back from New York on a business trip, and I was actually feeling a little bit underneath the weather, so I needed to get some Advil cold and sinus. And what's interesting is that, to your point, everything's under lock and key, right? So I've got to now press the button in the aisle, and now I have to wait. Now, the challenge is when I press that button and being a technologist and obviously looking at the experience from that point of view, I waited 13 minutes in order to get access to that Advil colon sinus. Now, tied back to the survey, at the lack of better words, people are annoyed with that, right? So we have to figure out what are different technologies such as RFID for higher value goods, perhaps above $7 in nature, to provide those environments so that, one, you can have that more liquid customer experience in order to get those goods that you need and want, right? Such as Advil cold and sinus. Or two, really help reduce that shrink moment from a perspective of giving that physical thing a digital voice as it travels throughout the store so that you know where it's at and you can have preventative measures around that. Number three is knowing exactly what you're going to have on those shelves, right? So investing in prescriptive analytics around AI so that you can know, hey, during usually the hours of 4 to 7, when people are returning off work and going home, sometimes they stop at these different shops that you say that have things locked up. And you can know that, a category of old Advil cold and sinus as we enter the flu and cold season, as we are right now, depending upon where you live in the world, and at least here in the US, and that from 4 to 7, there's about 120 different customers that are coming in to get those types of goods in that area. So one is you can have that instrumented so that you can have a less friction flow for your customers. Number two, you can keep an eye on the inventory. And number three, you can make sure that your labor knows that, hey, you're going to have a higher influx of customers. So you can key and collaborate with them over the mobile device by either sending a text message out to the staff saying, hey, get ready. We're going to have the cold and flu rush, between 4 and 7. So keep your eyes on, but also have a knowledge perspective to be in that area so that you can help them out. So I think one is infusing it with a digital voice, such as RFID and those different products that you have. Two, driving a technology around communication and collaboration strategy so that you can communicate with the staff and give them a heads up so that proactively you're managing your workforce so they know how to provide that higher level of customer service during those peak hours, like 4 to 7 for the cold and flu section. And number three is really helping manage, but also providing prevention versus protection from a shrink perspective by instrumenting that with technology so that you know where those goods are in the stores they travel through that lifespan as a customer executes that purchase.
Yeah, and everything can be far more frictionless, meaning even in self-checkout, sometimes the menus are difficult. Sometimes you're just trying to buy it and it's hard to find, I just want to buy it. I don't want all these other options. So there's work that can be done there. There's always ways of making it better. By the way, you mentioned there was a little button that you could push when you needed that Advil. And I was thinking, boy, are you lucky? Last time I needed something, there was no button to push. And I had to go find somebody. So, but see, they were another notch behind. So the more we can not be behind, but be ahead, the happier our employees will be and our customers will be. What else have you found in that survey from a sales associate perspective of, that was insightful?
Yeah, sales associates, I mean, that's our frontline workers, right? I mean, they're the folks that are going to make the store, the environment that they're going to make it. They're the ones that are going to provide or not provide a customer experience. And two, they're the ones that are going to get everything done in the store. So I think 85% of store associates today feel that they can do a better job with technology and the right technology, plus also having a task management, perspective so that as they approach that workflow, as we talked about before, they can know exactly what they're supposed to be getting done. So there's some satisfaction in kind of clicking off those different tasks that are assigned to them. But also by infusing task management with an artificial intelligence later, it can be dynamic in nature. So if they need to pause what they're doing within their day and go help a customer, they can do that and then pick right back up because they know exactly where they're at. So it also helps with their cognitive fatigue. So as people get things layered on from loss prevention, providing customer service, but also doing the tasks that are assigned to them, there's a certain amount of cognitive fatigue so that if they have a technology assistant for one, converting them into an execution employee, into a knowledge worker, now they can provide all those different things, but also get a lot of joy and happiness about being engaged within their environment, but also everybody wants to help somebody, right? The last thing they want to do is have a customer come up to them and not be able to help them. That doesn't really give a high level of job satisfaction. So by having that technology in that worker's hands so that they can really look at it from that perspective, it helps drive a more engaged workforce, but also a higher level of customer service because now they're knowledge workers. So if you look at that, it's going to help with your retention strategies around frontline workers because gosh knows that, labor is hard to find. And finding the right labor to do the right task and the right work is also very difficult in these times too. So labor shortages are something that everybody is dealing with, whether you're in retail, manufacturing, healthcare, T&L, whatever that may be, everyone's dealing with labor. And by the way, everyone's competing for it. So if you can enable your associates to be more engaged at work by providing them the right technology, but also the right workforce management and task management perspective platform that you can to deliver that frontline worker experience at a higher level, you're going to reduce, your voluntary attritions. You're going to have higher retention rates. Plus, attributes around that is that by shifting them into knowledge workers, you can provide a higher level of customer service. So there's a lot of goodness around that. And I think that as you look at the kind of that 3-year arc from that perspective, people are going to continue to invest in that on both a human-centric workflow, but also infusing generative AI in there to really layer that on so that folks can go deeper and deeper into grab that knowledge in real time and provide that back into a frontline worker's experience, but also heightening that customer service level.
Yeah, a lot of times we focus on attracting and retaining talent, and a lot of it goes to the attracting part. But I think we got to really concentrate on the retaining part.
That's right.
And as you and I both know, retailers around the world are focusing on transforming the customer experience. And of course, technology can help that. But wait. What I'd like us to do is transform the employee experience. because I don't want to have to keep trying to find new people. If I can keep people and elevate them to jobs and to what their job is, to elevate their job, getting rid of more of the redundant tasks. By the way, generative AI can help with that, reducing redundancy. And again, it's about shifting them to knowledge workers. So I think technology can help us great. What are the insights that you're getting from this survey around retail decision makers? I mean, what have you seen there? Because I mean, they're the ones that actually have the purse strings. They're going to make the decisions. They're going to do the buying. And by the way, their bad decisions will show up next year. So talk a little bit about what you found.
Yeah, when it comes to retail decision makers, I mean, I literally just got back from Europe last Friday night. Got off the plane and I was reflecting about all the conversations I had during the week. And a lot of it comes around profit margins. And there's so many attributes around that. One, being able to minimize shrink events, as we've been talking about already. I mean, that is the top of retailers' minds right now, outside of providing that labor experience, retaining it and engaging it. Really, it's around shrink and loss prevention and loss protection, and really driving that investment around it. So I think you're going to see a lot of infusion over the next, now to the next 3 years, where they're instrumenting the environments even more with RFID, with machine vision and fixed industrial scanning, so that they understand, one, where is their inventory from a visibility perspective? Where is it? And then how do I make sure that it's being paid for at the different modalities that I'm infusing on self-checkout and self-service, right? So now you've got a couple different areas you have to look at from a retail perspective, which is if you have a hybrid environment where you've got staff lanes, plus you got buy online, pick up in store, curbside, and you've got self-checkout and self-service modalities, you've got 4 different areas now that you have to look at, which before was just staff lanes. So now you have to look at it from that perspective. So it presents a lot more moments for stolen goods and shrink to happen. So loss prevention is top of retailers' minds right now. And quite frankly, people are paralyzed, right? I mean, 83% of the retailer decision makers, they are looking at solutions to minimize shrink. And that can affect their profit margin. So if currently, before all the different modalities were introduced, they were clicking between 2 and 3%, and now they're close to 7 or 8% in some different environments, they have to figure out how to reduce that because it's really affecting their bottom line. So I would say that's top of mind. And then a little bit longer arc, which is how do I continue to your point, infuse automation into my environments, right? To augment, one, my labor strategy, whether that's human or robotic, or 2, to your point, using Gen I as an automation tool to enhance that frontline worker experience to, one, as we spoke about, keep them engaged, but number 2, retain that human labor. And I think that's going to be critical. So I think that they're looking at, number 1, how do I mitigate the risk around shrink events that I infuse technology with, and continue to look at that without impeding upon the customer experience. And then number 2 is, how do I continue to look at automation tool sets and technology such as Gen I or, AMRs or robotics, or even, machine vision as a tool of automation to bring a multimodal approach to shrink prevention?
Well, you just said the magic words is a multimodal approach. And of course, when we say multimodal, we're talking about audio, we're talking about video, we're talking about text, we're talking about all the different ways that that generative AI and all the subcategories of that can truly help. We're really going to be, from a perspective of the employee, the sales associate, augmenting their thinking with AI so that they can make better decisions, and we'll know where they are in proximity. We're going to have more voice commerce taking place, where our products will be able to talk to the consumer or to us. But, you've got your screen and your device, but I also have something plugged in over here tied to that. And it can say, there's 4 shoppers walking towards the Tylenol. Well, I don't need them to push a button. I can start hitting there right now. Right. I mean, in other words, I can be anticipatory versus reactionary. I can have, instead of you tapping the button, I could just say, I need help. And because of proximity location, I know where that person is. So there's so many tools that are coming together in a multimodal way that is truly transformative of this experience. And when you said the leaders, retail leaders, are looking at focusing on profitability, we all know, well, that's an end result. You have to do some things to get there. So, of course, they want to make more money. Hey, they always want to make more money. It's what are the strategies to get you there, and what are the blocks that are holding you back from getting there? What are some of the, again, this study is fantastic. Hey, let's not go any further. Let's show them how to get this study. Let's put it up on the screen. There's a QR code. We'll leave it up there for a few seconds. You can scan that. This just gives you some of the regions we're talking about: Asia Pacific, Europe, Latin America, North America. And it's very detailed. This is just a sample little page of it, but it is an outstanding study. I really urge you to download, get that, and devour it, because it's got amazing insights. Let's also put up on the screen a way that they can get more information about Zebra and retail and what's going on, because Zebra's a technology company. I've worked with you guys for quite a few years, and you're on the front end of empowering retailers with new tools to help them be more efficient, more effective, and do things that they thought was impossible not long ago. So it's a great combination. So I urge you to go there. Drew, what other insights have we been getting from the shoppers in terms of what do they want and what's holding them back? What other ones can you share with us?
Yeah, I mean, a streamlined experience, right? I mean, today, as you think about it, as we approach the holiday season, right? It's really interesting because we've brought these liquid expectations as consumers in any environment we have, and we get very irritable if there's any friction along the way. So we want that nice online experience in the offline world. So in order to do that, you've got to really look at what are the different tools that I can provide those customers, such as you and I, as we go into those store. So one, that if there isn't a button, that, you know, there is someone that's there because they understand that, hey, there's going to be customers that you need to serve. And then two is, if there's a button, you know, there's got to be a different path to digital notification around communication, collaboration, and task management that says, hey, there's a customer there. Waiting 13 minutes is not something that we want them to experience. That's a bad customer experience, because some online retailers can actually deliver in an hour. So if I'm physically in a store and I got to press a button to wait 13, I'm certainly going to be agitated if I can get stuff in an online world within an hour to my door. So thinking about how I can really bring that is a couple different things. One is really looking at productivity along what I can do from inventory management. So making sure that, you know, if stockout alerts are there, make sure that the associates have time to recover that and make sure that the right sizes, the right colors, the right products, whether it's that Advil Colosinus or Tylenol that you're buying, is on the shelf during that peak time of 4 to 7. And number two is, you know, if you're in soft goods and you're shopping for a holiday, you're probably shopping for a purpose, either for a gift or for an event. So having that right size, that right color, that right blend, making sure that you have the demand intelligence behind knowing what your customers are going to want at that point of demand, is making sure that you have a proximity strategy around that. So having the environments infused with RFID so that you know what you have in front of the store, back of the store, but also on the way in flight to the store with your different shipping mechanisms that you can do to keep your stocks filled. And then what's in the warehouse, and making sure those right products at the right time with the right color, with the right size is into place where you and I, Daniel, are going to go purchase those things for the holiday cocktail party that we may or may not be attending in November or December, right? To celebrate amongst our family and friends. So I think making sure you're giving those items a digital voice, such as RFID, so that you can have it. And then when you do have it, make sure that you have a multimodal approach to that checkout experience, whether that's through staff lanes, whether that's through self-scanning devices that you can, where they can check out themselves, with a trust score that you may have, you know, by customer, if you have a loyalty app. Or number three, if you have a self-checkout, self-service modality, as many stores do these days, make sure that it's a frictionless experience so that you can bring it. So that as a shopper during these holiday times, I'm an advocate for your brand, because I'm certainly going to talk about my experience if it's bad, but why not give them an exceptional experience where they're going to talk about when it's good? Next thing you know, that's going to create these micro moments of brand awareness and strength that you can provide it, and technology is the avenue to get there.
Well, and the good experience and the bad experience will be communicated to your friends and relatives.
That's
I
right.
think it's
And
man, I had to wait 13 minutes after pushing the button. I bet this isn't the first time you've ever shared that with somebody, even that's a recent experience. So positive and negative both get communicated quite a bit. So that's a big one. Let me ask you this, because I've been reading over the years that, and I don't know the latest, you probably do, and that is there is a big percent of customers. I remember the number, but I'm going to see what you have for right now, where people come in to buy something and it's not there. In other words, they're going in to buy something and it's not there. Do you have anything in the survey that's talked about that?
Yeah, over 50%, closer to 57% of folks are coming in and it's not there. It is literally the most annoying thing on the planet. I will tell you, I just had it the other day. I've got
another negative one. Yeah, go ahead.
And hey, I'm just like my Aunt Ethel. I'm going to tell you about my hurting back. I'm going to tell you about my bad experience right at the Thanksgiving time, which we're going to approach next week. And what's interesting is that I got there and I had a limited time to get this one gift that I have coming up for an event, and it was out. And online, I checked the inventory because I just landed from London. And I knew I had 2 hours before the store closed. And I went there directly after the airport with my Uber, with my luggage, everything right to the store. And it wasn't there. And I will tell you, I'm like, how can it not be here? It says you have 3 online in your stock at this location with this zip code, everything. And the store manager came over and said, I am very embarrassed that this is not here. We're obviously not having the right inventory controls. And that happens over 50% of the time. And it's one of the most infuriating experiences you can have. And I'm sure most folks that are listening to this right now are raising their hand saying, yep, I've been there. And guess what? It's really frustrating. Guess what? We can mitigate those experiences and really drive a more holistic experience so that those stockouts don't occur. And all it is really about inventory visibility and management. And that can happen today. All those disappointments, all those times can be eliminated down to zero with the investment in technology, provide that digital voice with a multimodal approach with RFID, with machine vision, all those different things that you can have from that perspective. And some of the times it's just in the back of the house and they might not even know they have it. And by the way, those 3 that were in store when I saw it, my guess is they're back in the back of the store. And the problem is that they didn't have a way to see that in time.
Right. They didn't have a smart system.
Visibility perspective. Well, here's the thing. So yesterday I get a phone call from that store manager, and that gentleman said, I found those 3 items. And I said, hey, that's great. I really appreciate the follow-up. I took my purchasing somewhere else. And so now, not only do they lose out on revenue, he did regain my confidence a little bit with the follow-up. But my question is that, am I going to have to wait 2 days again to find out that you have it? That's not acceptable to me. So looking at a mitigation strategy, really infusing that, you've got to make sure that labor, your frontline workers are engaged and retained by investing in technology to deliver that, to empower those employees. Number 2, really looking at your customer experience. And that really surrounds about, what does my checkout experience look like? How are my associates going to engage with that customer when they're in the store? And number 3, am I going to have the right things with the right places, with the right size, with the right color, or the right dosage that they need, depending upon what they're going after, at the right time in the proximity of that customer event where I'm going to purchase? You have to answer those things. And if you can't answer it all yet, all 3 lanes that you're going to look at from a strategy perspective, you're on your journey, but you've got a ways to go. And we can help you.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you got to be thinking omni-channel. So there have been times when I go to the website to see if let's just take, I mentioned drug companies. All right. So let's say I'm going in to see the pharmacist, and I check to see, yeah, they're open. Good. I go online. Good. Great. So I go there. No, they're closed. They aren't open today. Well, why didn't your website say that? So again, we need a really good system that is updated. And then again, if the sales associate could say, Oh, we don't have that you want, sir. Let me just check real quick and see if it's in the back. Push quick button. Oh, yeah, we have it in the back. I'll get it for you. Be right back with you. Hey, I'm happy. Third, and that is we need ordering kiosks so that I can have infinite inventory. As you said, hey, I can get things delivered in an hour online. Why don't I bring online in store? So that if I can't get it and it's not there, instead of me leaving without it, I can say, we match any price. Here it is, buy it now. It'll be delivered by, and now I have infinite inventory in a non-infinite store. In other words, there are ways of doing it. And one last comment I'll throw out, and that is the supply chain, which is far bigger than just what's in the back. It's a much bigger thing. I do a lot of work with supply chains around the world. And I'll tell you right now, the supply chain is becoming the supply brain. Becoming the supply brain. We're giving it AI, we're giving it other things so we get visibility. What I want is complete visibility. I want transparency so that I know what's going on. And by the way, as a shopper, hey, I'd kind of like that too. What if you could have gone and taken your app and seen if they had it in the store before you went to the store? By the way, is that impossible? Actually, no, that's not impossible. And right now, there are stores that have frequent user programs and stuff. People don't use them. People don't ever look at them. Why? Give me a reason to do it. Give me some things on there. Like, again, if you had that store app where you could find out if it was there and say, I want one, because they don't sell the last one. Whoa. Again, we're looking for competitive advantage. Technology can do whatever we can imagine. What would you like it to do? So to increase profitability, I need to invest. To be able to retain my talent and attract new talent that I can upskill because they're capable of it and they want to, I need to make some investments. What are some things that people listening to this, because we have leaders from all over the world listening to this, what are some takeaways? And even we could frame them, a lot of this outside of retail in many ways, because satisfying a customer, if you're a consultant, has a lot of the similar elements. In other words, I want to make sure that they're not waiting. I want to make sure that I'm exceeding expectations. I mean, we're talking about retail, but what are some things that actions that people can take, a little litmus test they could put based on this survey, especially if they're in retail right now?
Yeah, I think number one is, and just to touch upon the point you just made about supply chain, right? I'm a supply chain geek, and I think that it starts with that, right? Because you mentioned the word omni-channel, which we've been using, well over a decade, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this hype cycle is in normality, kind of like where we went from omni-channel to IoT, and now we're, Gen AI is everywhere, right? And I mean, I'm sure everybody hearing this, is going to be in some kind of holiday discussion over the course of the next 6 weeks where Gen AI is going to be discussed. But I think the critical thing is to understand is that retail happens every day, every hour, every moment, and it's no longer linear in nature. It's multi-node. So to your point, those nodes are becoming more intelligent each and every time. So now you've got a neural node network that's really helping deliver the retail experience. And it could happen in a brick and mortar. It could happen in store. It could happen online, when we're in our pajamas shopping on there. I could also be showrooming where I'm looking at items in a brick and mortar, but I choose this to order them online because I've got my 9-year-old, my 12-year-old boys, and I got a cup of coffee. And the last thing I want to do is carry bags around because we may go do something else. So retail is happening at any place, anytime, and you got to make sure that your nodes are neural in nature, to your point, getting intelligent more and more every day with technology, with artificial intelligence, with Gen AI to delineate the two. And then number two is, really thinking about, I've got this whole plethora of customer data. And in fact, 3/4 of shoppers, around 75%, and I'm in the 75%, I'm willing to give you all the data about me in the world if you can help personalize my preferences, but also my shopping habits so that I can get what I want when I want it. I'm happy to give you anything short of a blood work sample or anything like that, but I'll give you my data. And guess what? 3/4 of the population is happy to do so. So why are we not mining that data to provide a better customer experience of the day, but also make sure that the products that we want are in the places that we're going to procure them from when we're going to procure them at the moment? And the data is there, right? So I think one is, as a retailer, you've really got to look at that from the perspective to drive that more personalized experience. Not only omni-channel, but it's also looking at, how do I index to an individualized experience? And I think as we do that, we can make it easier to find things, pay for items, return items, and find those item related information that we all need. And that can be delivered either by Gen AI or maybe the information out there. But the multimodality around paying for an item or, being able to have a seamless return, because certainly I'm going to get something in the next 6 weeks because I've got Thanksgiving, I've got my birthday that's coming up. I won't say how old I am, but I am definitely going to have a milestone birthday this year. And then I've got the Christmas season for those folks that celebrate Christmas. At some point, I'm probably going to get something, and mom and dad, it's not from you because I'll enjoy everything I get from you, but I'm going to want to return it. And I want to make sure that that experience is good because I loathe returning things. My wife jokes about it all the time, but having a great return experience can really, really affect how people think about brands. So you may have an unbelievable, lineage and lifespan around procuring an item or receiving an item, but if the return experience is bad, it's going to get really bad for your brand. Because one is folks just aren't going to do it and they're not going to re-engage with your brand. Or number two is they will disparage your brand. You won't even know it. You'll have a silent, disparate moment where, Aunt Ethel, who was talking about the back and then not being able to get Tylenol, but now is talking about your return experience too. Hey, I had a great experience buying this stuff, but now I can't even return it. So retailers need to think about that too, right? The moment doesn't stop when they purchase. There's also an engagement model on the back end from a return experience that's highly critical in nature too. And you've got to make sure you have that, but it also goes back into a return experience that feeds your inventory visibility where you want to get those goods, especially if they're seasonal in nature, right? For us folks that are here, in the Midwest and the US, guess what? Snow's coming and I'm going to be buying heavier clothes, sweatshirts, scarves, mittens, whatever it may be. But if I choose, because I'm not having a great return experience, to send that stuff until the end of February or March, guess what? Retailers are going to have to put that in a discount scenario, and they're going to have less revenue, less profit margin on it. So I think, really thinking about how do I mine that customer data to provide a better personalized experience, because I'm happy to do it, and so are 75% of the other people. And number two, infusing that to make sure that you're also thinking about what's the full lifespan of that engagement model around a purchase, and make sure you're not forgetting about the return experience.
Yeah, it's about the entire experience is what we're really talking about from beginning to end, no matter what the scenario might be. And if there was one thing that would improve all of the experiences, I think I know what it is, and we'll see if you agree. And that is, it's about speed. In other words, don't take my time. Man, you know what? I'd just rather give you cash than take my time. So if you can save me time, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend more time with you. If you can save me time, I'll spend more time with you. Now, do you agree with that? And what are your thoughts?
I mean, you're spot on. I mean, time is the greatest asset you can never get back. So that 13 minutes that I waited, right, pressing that button for the cold and sinus, I will never get that 13 minutes back. By the way, but as a technologist and somebody who wants to help co-create these solutions in a collaborative manner to help deliver a better customer experience, I'm happy to experience that 13 minutes so that I can make sure that other people don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, we are observers. We like to, right. And let's make sure that as a sales associate or as a retail leader, we've got our opportunity antennas up all the time. And by the way, a problem, oh my God, it's an amazing opportunity. You're probably not the only retailer with that problem. So if I can solve it for me and all of my competition doesn't solve it for them, I'll win. So, I don't want to compete. I want to look at what they're doing and do what they're not doing. So if we're all crying over the same problem and not doing anything about it, what am I stuck doing? Competing. I don't want to compete. I want to use technology to go beyond my competition, to do what they're not doing, elevate my associates to higher level thinking and work, better and faster customer experience, so that they'll want to continue working with me and be learning like crazy, because I'm a learning organization, not just a retail outlet. And I also want to look at, again, how can I elevate the customer experience and get them in and out faster, yet find the things that they want. Again, if you save me time, I will spend more time with you. If your people have a bad attitude, I'm out of there and I probably won't be back. So I got to work on that part as well and make sure that they're friendly and nice and welcoming, because I know that you and I spend a lot of time in hotels as we travel around the world, and you can be the world's best hotel, and if you've got the staff is not that good, it's the level of the staff. You can also be in a lower level hotel and the staff are fantastic, and you're thinking, this is pretty dang good, So, what am I saying? In a technology driven world, it's still a human world. It's still a human world. So we're empowering the human buyers, the human sellers, and the human leaders with technology. So we're getting close to the end of the interview. Is there anything that we didn't cover in this report that we should get out to people right now? And then we'll do a couple of a conclusion here.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, it comes down to this, right? Get to know your customers, right? The data is there. There's a multitude of us folks, 75% of shoppers today that are happy to give it to you. Really, really focus on, what's my labor strategy? How can I infuse the environment with technology to give an employee a better working experience? And at the end of the day, that's going to translate to a better customer service experience. Number 3, really look at what your inventory strategies to make sure that your shelves are stocked with everything that you need, so that, those 3 things that I went in to purchase are there because they're in your store. Just make sure you can find them and make sure they're in the proximity of that buying event, and make sure that you're giving that technology investment around RFID and multimodal to really give that inventory a digital voice, so that you understand where it's at, where it should be, and how much of it that you have on hand. And that will equate your ability to reduce those shrink events and really help protect the shoppers without over-indexing on, loss prevention moments that you may have in that environment. I think that there's a concern around most shoppers, around 71%, where, the stores at which they're shopping are experiencing high levels of theft and crime. So they think that's going to translate back into, higher costs from them. And everybody's worried about inflation these days, right? You can't turn on a TV without it. So I think retailers got to really figure out what's the technology I can invest in, so I can avoid passing that operational cost onto the customers and burdening them more. And then at the end of the day, labor, to your point, Daniel, human labor is our number one asset. And we got to make sure that we're taking care of them, make sure we're providing a good frontline experience, infusing it with more technology, making sure that we're also looking at their cognitive fatigue and their mental capacity to give them a workforce management, task management tool set that can help them deliver the work that they want to do at a high level, but also provide that customer experience at the end of the day. And I think those are the different areas, as I'm looking at from a retail perspective, that we're going to see to grow. And as customers, the retailers are investing in the next evolution of what environments are going to look like. So be patient, give them feedback. As no one's perfect in this world, but we can take incremental steps, to your point that you made earlier, in order to continue to grow on progress over perfection.
I like that. Let's put up the shopper study and that code. I'm really urging everyone to download this and read through it. By the way, we barely touched the surface in this interview. It is deep. There is amazing insights in there. And as you can see, you get specific percents about different categories. There are actionable insights. I really urge you to get it. Let's also put up, how to find out more about Zebra and what they're doing with retail. You can go there, and there's some great blogs and articles and things that you can find, as well as I said, Zebra is a technology company. They have the tools that can help you to do what we're talking about here. And it would be good to explore what are the options? By the way, if you looked last year, you knew what they had last year. I think you ought to check and see what they got this year, because they're changing and transforming just like everyone else. Thank you so much for being part of this. I know, as I said in the beginning, actually, the good old days of retail are ahead of us. The tech is there to solve so many of these problems, to give us the speed that we don't have today in all areas, to give us the visibility that we don't have. But it doesn't look like yesterday. We have to have some new eyes and some new vision as leaders if we want to, again, increase our profitability. As you said, that's one of the things that they want. All right, so how do I do that? How do I get to that? Thanks again so much for being with us.